The 2021 finals are one of the most forgotten across NBA fans. After years of seeing Steph Curry and LeBron James in the finals, people just didn't care about the Suns versus the Bucks. But little did everybody know, this final series may have started a rivalry that will last years from now. Because after this finals, both of these teams got two of the best players in the world, Kevin Durant and Damian Lillard. And in my opinion, there's a very good chance we see this finals rematch this year, and I hope we do. The storyline is there, some of the biggest names in basketball against each other. It would be a great series. But which team actually has the best chance of winning? Let's start with the Milwaukee Bucks, just because the Dame trade happened so recently and this team is so fresh in everybody's mind. The second the news broke that Damian Lillard would be joining the Milwaukee Bucks, they became an easy championship favorite, or at least the favorites in the Eastern Conference. The duo of Giannis and Lillard just seems so perfect, and Dame was exactly the kind of shot-making point guard the Bucks have been missing the past few seasons. The Bucks have had a pretty solid team over the past few years, but they've only made it out of the East one time in this Giannis era. They almost made it to the finals in 2019, and they probably would have if Kawhi Leonard wasn't having one of the greatest playoff runs of all time. And then the bubble season happened in 2020, where the Bucks were the #1 seed during the regular season, but would lose to the Miami Heat in the second round. Then it was on to 2021, which is the season Giannis really proved himself as an all-time legend, leading the Bucks to the finals, and they were matched up against the Phoenix Suns. And as much as casual NBA fans weren't excited about the series, it was a pretty entertaining one with some of the craziest moments in finals history. Giannis was playing amazing and led the Bucks from down 2-0 to win the championship in 6 games. This gave the Bucks some credibility after the past few seasons of doing great in the regular season, but losing in the playoffs every single year. It answered questions about if Chris Middleton was able to be the second best player on a championship team, and how the rest of his team was going to be able to win when it matters. 2022 is pretty much a repeat of the years before with Milwaukee, dominating during the regular season and then getting bounced out early in the playoffs. And the same happened in 2023, but this time it was very alarming for the Bucks. Jimmy Butler went off in the first round and led the 8-seed Miami Heat to a win over the Bucks. This felt like a turning point for the organization, which ended up being a great one, but at the time we had no idea. Giannis was getting sick of losing and not competing every single year, and rumors started flying around everywhere about him potentially leaving to join a team like the Warriors. This was scary if you were a Bucks fan. Chris Middleton was regressing and only getting older, and if Giannis left, they would have been sent into a full rebuild. Thankfully, the basketball gods blessed Milwaukee with one of the biggest trades ever. Damian Lillard, after years of staying loyal to Portland, finally had enough and requested a trade. And everybody was talking about him going to every other team besides the Bucks. People thought he would go to the Miami Heat, or the Nets, or the Knicks, or the Celtics, but after months of waiting around, he finally got sent to the Milwaukee Bucks. This obviously stopped all the rumors of Giannis going anywhere anytime soon. Lillard was everything they could have asked for in a player, and now it's officially time for the Bucks to be contenders. And you would think a team led by Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard would be easy championship favorites. But no, there's another team who has just as good of a chance, if not better, and it's the whole point of this video, the Phoenix Suns. For majority of the 2010s, the Suns were a pretty below average team, with their only real star player being a young Devin Booker. They were turning everything around in the bubble season though, as they made a trade for Chris Paul, and they didn't have to give up much in return at all. While Chris Paul was out of his prime, he was still Chris Paul and still one of the most offensively talented players of all time. As well as DeAndre Ayton coming into his own as a player, the Suns instantly became contenders and made the finals the following season. The storylines were there for the Suns team. Chris Paul was getting close to the end of his career, and this may have been the last chance at winning a championship. And although they got close, as I mentioned earlier, the Milwaukee Bucks would defeat them in 6 games. The next year, they definitely had a chance to make the finals again, but Devin Booker made the terrible mistake of trash-talking Luka Doncic, and they suffered the repercussions. Everything would end up working out great for Phoenix though, as they were able to make a trade for possibly the most offensively talented player ever, Kevin Durant. The big three of Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and Kevin Durant was formed, and they were looked at as the new super team in the NBA. It reshaped the NBA completely, and if it wasn't for injuries, we could have very easily seen this team win a ring this year. People assumed going into the season that the trio of Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, and Devin Booker would be leading the Suns, but this offseason, everything would change once again, and they traded Chris Paul away for Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal had spent the past few seasons stuck on the Wizards with no real help and nothing to show for his time there, but nobody could have expected him to fill in this big three. Which brings us to today. There are definitely many other teams in the NBA today that are able to contend for a championship, like the Lakers or the Heat or the Celtics or the Nuggets, but the Suns and the Bucks are at the top of everybody's radar right now. We've got to see glimpses of both of these teams in the preseason so far. The Phoenix Suns are looking unstoppable offensively. 3 players who can go get a bucket at any given moment. They'll also have Yusuf Nurkic at center, who's currently dealing with injuries, but when healthy can be a very solid center, considering they don't have DeAndre Ayton anymore. It will be very tough for them to get past the Denver Nuggets this season, considering that's who they lost to these past playoffs, and the Nuggets are just an extremely talented team. But if they're able to beat the Nuggets, I think the Suns can beat any other team in the West. Which brings us to the Eastern Conference, where like I said, there's teams like the Celtics and the Heat that definitely have a chance to win, but if everybody stays healthy, I'm very confident the Bucks are going to make it out of the East with ease. Damian Lillard and Giannis together is just too unstoppable, and seeing these two play together in the preseason, it just seems like a no-brainer. The Celtics and the Heat are great, but I don't think either of them have what it takes to stop the Bucks' new offense. However, the Celtics did just pick up Drew Holiday from the Bucks, so if anybody was going to be able to stop Dame and the Bucks, I'd pick the Celtics. The Bucks and the Suns are the end goal though. This series would be so entertaining for so many reasons. A battle between Kevin Durant and Giannis would be beautiful, and if Giannis was able to beat KD, it may feel similar to when Kevin Durant took over in 2017 and beat LeBron James. This kind of passing of the torch moment in the finals is always a sight to see. Damian Lillard will be in his first ever finals ever, and seeing him after all these years finally get a chance to win a ring would be so great for pretty much all NBA fans. I know people still look at Devin Booker as this young guy with all the time in the world to win, but Booker is entering his 9th season, and if he can't win alongside Kevin Durant, I don't know when he's ever going to be able to. And just the storyline of this series would be so cool to see. A rematch of a finals series 3 years later, but adding 2 of the best players ever on each team is something I've just never heard of before. But that's just what I think. Neither of these teams, in my opinion, are super teams by any measure. So it kind of leaves it all up to possibility on what can happen this season and in these playoffs. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, but that's all I've got for today. Thank you all for watching. And with that being said, I'm out of here, and I'll see you on the next one.